On my wedding day, my groom dashed out mid-vow, to save the poor student he secretly funded. While everyone panicked, his mother sighed and told me, pick another son. Then the comments went wild, check the storage room, his foster brother's there. Dangerous. Gorgeous. Off limits. I turned, met his eyes, and smiled. No need to pick. I'll take him. Main story. On the day I married my childhood sweetheart, the scholarship student he sponsored got into a car accident. Halfway through the vows, he dropped me and bolted from the venue. Watching the alliance between our two families about to go up in smoke, Aunt Jordan immediately wheeled out her remaining 3 sons. Daughter-in-law, take your pick. Whichever one catches your eye, you take him home. When that brat Louis Jordan shows his face again, I'll drag him over to apologize. I was a little glum. Louis Jordan's face and body were 1 in a million, there was simply no substitute. Just then, I saw a cascade of on-screen comments. Miss Heiress, look to the southeast corner, the Jordan family's foster son who was just punished. Battle damaged, feral tension. I don't tell just anyone about finds like this. The antagonist is so pitiful. Please, Miss Heiress, love him hard for us. Following the comments, I glanced toward the nondescript storage room. The door was ajar, I could make out a broad-shouldered, narrow-waisted silhouette. Andrew Jordan was just pulling on his shirt. Feeling the heat of a stare, he looked up and met my eyes. Nothing left to the imagination. Just as the comments promised, I curled my lips. No need to pick. Him. Who? Aunt Jordan followed the line of my finger. Andrew Jordan had just slipped into a crisp black shirt, long fingers unhurriedly fastening the last button. Awkward smile from Aunt Jordan. Him? He's just a nobody foster son, really not worthy of a golden branch like you. Then who is? Louis Jordan. Wasn't this whole mess his doing? We'll certainly give you an explanation for Louis, but right now what matters is saving both families' reputations. Choose any of my other sons. As for Andrew, before he came to the Jordans he did a lot of things that can't stand the light. If he couldn't keep the Jordans' gray businesses running, your Uncle Jordan would never have acknowledged such a filthy creature as a foster son. When she spoke of Andrew, her tone was pure disgust, as if she were describing some unclean thing. I drew my gaze back from the man. In that case, forget the alliance. I'm not interested in anyone else. I turned to leave. Wait. Grinding her teeth, Aunt Jordan yanked Andrew over. How about this, Amanda, if you fancy Andrew, take him home for a couple of days. Publicly, we'll still say the families are allied. The man was long-limbed and tall, up close it took effort to take him in. I studied the sort of face that makes crimes seem reasonable. Your name is Andrew? He said nothing. A savage kick from Aunt Jordan to his calf. Miss White is speaking to you, are you deaf? Pain shot through his knee, it hit the floor with a thud. His thin lips pulled tight to a line. Is he hurt? A dismissive wave from Aunt Jordan, it's nothing. Andrew's thick-skinned. Not like the other young masters, he heals fast. As long as you don't go for the kill, there won't be a problem. She introduced Andrew like a piece of merchandise. Seeing I wasn't pressing, she turned and ordered him, for someone as low as you, catching Miss White's eye is a blessing. Spend the next few days learning how to please her. On her way out, Aunt Jordan shoved a handful of toys at me. Whip, candles, chains, Amanda, today our Jordan family owes you. If you need to vent, vent. Andrew's gaze skimmed over the items, unreadable, almost numb. Louis once told me they kept a dog for people to take their anger out on. Beat him hard, then stuff him with pills. When he's healed, keep using him. Round and round it goes. When the wedding cleanup ended, I took Andrew back to the White family's old house. He didn't speak the whole ride. Nor when we reached the room. I shrugged off my coat. Do you know why I brought you back? I know. He lowered his head, a gesture of submission. Miss wants to do anything, she can. I'm durable. I can take it. Thinking of the fresh wounds I'd seen, I had him sit. I slipped his shirt off from behind. Blood had glued fabric to skin, getting it off took force. If it were Louis, he'd have cried out by now. Andrew didn't make a sound. My fingertips brushed a bruise. How did this happen? The muscles of his back went taut, his breathing roughened a shade. Fighting. I knew the Jordans' gray businesses, they entangled the kind of men who live by the knife. When profits clash, fists and blades decide it. Those who claw their way through blood have a toughness the rest don't. Jeremy, I've got a patient. Come take a look. When I hung up, Andrew was staring at me in silence. He's my family doctor, I explained. He'll be here soon. I asked him to check your wounds. Andrew lowered his gaze. No need to trouble the doctor. A few pills and I'll be fine in a couple of days. No. I held firm. Near midnight, Jeremy arrived. Fortunately, it's all soft tissue. No bone. But take it easy for a few days. No strenuous activity. Only when Jeremy said it wasn't serious did I breathe easier. Out in the hall, he deliberately kept his voice away from Andrew. Amanda, are you sure you want a dangerous man this close? He's got all kinds of wounds, blade cuts, cigarette burns, fine needle punctures, and there's even a special chip implanted. I'd stood by while Jeremy cleaned him up. The map of damage on his back was shocking. The Jordans are only keeping him for now. They'll likely dispose of him before long. Why would you? I kept my silence. I'd thought all the same thoughts on the drive home. I get that you're angry Lewis ran. But don't gamble with your safety. Andrew isn't like other people. I smiled a little. I'll be careful. After Jeremy left, I turned back, heavy-hearted. Andrew stood at the door, the night wind lifted a corner of the bandage on his chest. Andrew, why are you out here? How long had he been there, how much had he heard? The doctor forgot this. He was clutching a roll of medical tape in his hand. Give it back next time he comes. Come inside. The late autumn wind bit cold. But Andrew still didn't cross the threshold. If you're afraid of me, I can sleep outside. His eyes dimmed. If that's not far enough, I can sleep there. He pointed to the shrubs beyond the steps. A place even a pet dog would refuse. Will you hurt me? I asked. Andrew shook his head. No. Then I'm not afraid of you. I drew him in. Jeremy's hourly is expensive. Treat your body like it's worth it. Because he was injured, I put him in the side bedroom. After a long day, I showered and lay in bed scrolling my phone. The Jordans had already smothered the news of Lewis's runaway act. The company's official account posted a photo of me in my wedding dress, hand tucked into a man's arm, taken from behind. The comments all assumed the man was Lewis, and poured in their blessings. Past midnight. I put the phone down and closed my eyes. Sleep wouldn't come. Jeremy says I'm blood deficient, a boyfriend would help. But my standards have always been high. In all these years, Lewis was the only one I fancied. No, there's Andrew now. After wavering, I took my pillow to the next door. Andrew opened it. His tall, straight frame blotted the light before me. I looked up at him. Hair lying smooth, there was a strange, obedient softness to him. He frowned. What is it? I can't really sleep. His lashes lowered. What do you need me to do? I hesitated, tongue-tied. I almost retreated. But then I looked at that face, and the feeling inside me surged again. He went rigid at first, then, breathing hard, he hurriedly pushed me away. You don't want to? I asked. When I'd cleaned his wounds, he'd reacted. He shouldn't be repulsed by me, I'm only a base-born foster son. Don't dirty yourself. His Adam's apple worked, and I kissed it. Andrew, you're not dirty at all. You're clean. You're good. Afraid of hurting me, he didn't push hard. He just let me wander, careful to avoid the places that were hurt. I was careful of his wounds too, I didn't dare be reckless. Even so, by the time we were done, it was the dead of night. Sleep drowned me. I wrapped my arms around Andrew and, finally, slept soundly. Morning found me awakened by a phone. Burrowed in his arms, I shifted to a more comfortable spot. Andrew, see who it is. He glanced. Lewis. I tipped my head back and reached for the phone. My arm gave out at once, aching to uselessness. Answer for me. The moment the line clicked, Lewis's voice filled the room. Amanda, are you home? I've been ringing your bell forever. You never sleep in. I glanced at Andrew, heat climbed my cheeks. What do you want? He'd come sooner than I expected. Open the door first, Lewis pressed. I drew a breath and started to rise from Andrew's chest. His hand trembled around the phone, just slightly. A soft, unmistakable cough bled into the receiver. Lewis heard it immediately. Someone's there with you. His voice shook. My drowsiness burned away. Both hands were still pressed to Andrew's hard abdomen, I didn't hurry to move. I ignored Lewis and looked straight at Andrew. Last night's desire-flushed face, that reddened mouth, they'd been beautiful. And now, the look of secret thought on his face was beautiful too. Uneasy, Andrew avoided my gaze. Who's in your house? Amanda, you're usually playful, fine, but yesterday was our wedding. How could you? I pinched the call off. Andrew, where are my clothes? When I swung my legs out of bed, my foot came down on a used wad of tissue. I nearly slipped. Andrew scooped me back onto the bed, the tips of his ears pink. I'll find them. He picked my clothes from the small disaster on the floor. So wrinkled I couldn't possibly wear them. Catching those filthy tissues in my peripheral vision, I felt a flash of disgust at myself. Are your hands sore? Seeing me rub my wrist, he frowned slightly. I'm fine. Last night, just before that final step, he'd gripped my waist and pulled away at the last instant. He had looked miserable, I'd told him it was okay. He wanted to smother the thought he considered dirty. Let me help you, he'd said. Afterward, he wiped my hands over and over, like he could erase something unclean. His long eyes were clouded with regret. Don't do that again. I can take anything. I hugged his lean waist from behind. Andrew, because of you I slept like a rock last night. It's the best sleep I've had in years. I showered. By the time I remembered Louis, it had been over an hour. The sun was merciless. Louis looked travel-worn, obviously straight from Rachel's, even his shirt was buttoned wrong. Amanda, I know you're still angry. Leaving you yesterday was my fault. Name your price. Rachel had a car crash. She has no family here. You're always kind and sensible, you must understand. I sipped warm water, utterly composed. I can't. She only has you here. And what about after we're married? Are you going to bring her to live with us? Louis, if you aren't prepared to marry me, don't force it. If you like Rachel, you could have told me before the wedding. He blinked. We've grown up together, how could she compare to us? Yesterday was an emergency. It won't happen again. I waved it off. No need for the theatrics. The engagement is between the Whites and the Jordans. Not between you and me. And the Jordan family doesn't have only one son. Which of my brothers could possibly satisfy you? He laughed, thinking I was joking. My gaze slid from him to Andrew stepping out of the room. Broad shoulders, narrow waist, blade brows and starry eyes. His white neck was dotted with telltale red. Louis followed my line of sight. He shot to his feet. Andrew, why you? So Aunt Jordan hadn't told him about last night. Louis's eyes went red. Andrew, what is that on your neck? Bite marks, Andrew said coolly. Louis nearly raved. How dare you? Father and mother will kill you. I stepped in front of Andrew. Didn't your aunt tell you? After you ran, Andrew finished the wedding with me. Louis's lips trembled. I thought that was just for show. I'm a normal adult with normal needs. It so happens I desire Andrew. Don't treat him like a normal person, Louis exploded. Amanda, before my father brought him home, he slept in a dog cage. He smashed another stray to death with his bare hands. Andrew's hands tightened at his sides. You're a dog of the Jordan family, Louis ranted. You can rot in the mud and no one will care. What, you're taking revenge on me this way because I used to ride you? Look at yourself. You think you're fit to be my stand-in? Go back to the Jordans and I'll make sure you die. Louis, what are you saying? I stared at him in disbelief. Had I ever truly known him, these 10+ years? Catching himself, Louis softened at once. Amanda, I only said that in anger. Andrew truly cannot stay. Suddenly I remembered what Louis once told me about an unruly dog they kept. When they first brought him to the Jordans, fearing he'd hurt people, they locked him in a giant cage and shocked him 3 times a day. After a month, he learned to bow and obey. They still didn't trust him. To control him better, they implanted a special chip. Any resistance brought agony that drilled to the bone. From then on, the obedient dog became the family's punching bag. Have you said enough? My nose stung. Louis, have you forgotten? When I was 10, they found me in a wolf's den. Many urged my parents to send me to an asylum, said a child who could survive among wolves could not be normal. Even my parents hesitated. Only you knelt to them and asked that they keep me. Wanting to live isn't wrong, you said. Amanda isn't a monster. That was the first time I met Louis. My parents said the Jordans and Whites had a marriage pact. Had I not gone missing, he would have been my fiancé. They thought the Jordans had come to break it. But 12-year-old Louis knelt to my parents and begged them not to send me away. Back then he said, the will to survive is not a sin. Little Amanda is not an aberration. A seed planted in my heart that day. I waited for it to sprout, to flower. For years I drilled myself on what normal people do. Tried to do everything impeccably. Eventually the circle stopped whispering about what I'd endured after I was lost, and started talking about my knack for running a company, about my effort. They stopped saying I was a freak and started calling me a true heiress, poised, exquisite, capable. Andrew watched the almost invisible tears in my eyes, his gaze would not leave my face. Louis, are you there? A soft voice sounded at the door. Rachel hobbled in on a cast, limping painfully. Louis rushed to her. Why are you here? You're not healed, what are you doing out? Miss Jordan asked me to apologize to Miss White. It's my fault you two are fighting. Rachel's voice trembled with tears. The comments say, Rachel is the heroine, so whenever she appears, both male lead and antagonist tilt toward her without hesitation. At the wedding, when Louis learned she'd crashed, he abandoned me without a thought, wedding or no wedding. So now, would Andrew also, Miss White, I apologize. If you're still angry, hit me. Rachel's wet eyes lifted to me. Afraid I might actually lay hands on her, Louis urged her out. What are you saying? I'm here, there's no need for you to step in. Go back to the hospital. She refused to leave. Her gaze probed the courtyard, searching, until she saw Andrew, bandaged, step from the house. Her eyes lit. Miss White, whatever happened, Andrew is innocent. How could you take it out on him? If you're angry, take it out on me. Her voice rose, martyr bright. Afraid Andrew would actually be swayed, I raised my voice and showed them out. Lewis, before my mood changes, take your scholarship flower and get out of my house. Rachel insisted on taking Andrew away. So what if you're an heiress, you can't treat another life lightly. Forcing Andrew to stay here is illegal. Even Lewis snapped, Rachel, why are you meddling in Andrew's business? At last, Andrew reacted. He walked toward her. I knew you would, eh? He passed her, lifted a sun umbrella, and set it above my head. Shading me. Don't get burned. After they left, White's mansion fell quiet again. I lay on the sofa phoning my best friend. You actually took Andrew home? Lewis must be livid. Serve him right for running. I used to think he was a once-in-a-century good man, the way he treated you. Who knew he'd get tangled with that scholarship girl? Trash. We chatted on. My stomach growled. Bestie, I can't go out right now. Can you bring me something to eat? Aunt Rose had taken the morning off. The engagement news was everywhere. If I went swaggering out with Andrew and got snapped, it would be a headache to manage. Of course. I'll bring food, and see just how handsome this Andrew is. Half an hour later, she stood in the living room clutching a huge pot of braised chicken, gawking at Andrew. Holy, girl, you're eating good. Her gaze slid down from his face, she sucked in a breath. He met Lewis with those marks on his neck. Why? Thumbs up. Devastation level, lethal. After we ate, she kept me company in my room. When Andrew came up, she sighed. Maybe send him back. He stared at you the whole time he ate. I can't place the look, but every time I put food in your bowl, the way he looked at me, like he'd swallow me whole. You're overthinking. Last time an intern asked me to dinner, she'd said he was into me, turned out he wanted me to sit in on a client meeting. He only knows me. Looking at me is normal. And I remembered the way he'd tended my hands last night. I think he's very good. Why won't you trust my read on people? We talked from afternoon into deep night. I asked her to sleep over. She waved me off. I snuck out. If my arranged marriage husband realizes, it'll be bad. She opened the door, and froze. Puzzled, I looked up. Andrew was standing right there. I pulled on my robe and stood. Andrew, it's late. Why aren't you sleeping? I saw your light was still on. Is Miss Forrest staying? My bestie wilted under the pressure around him. And no. I'll have the driver take me. Watching her retreating back, I frowned. Did she leave too fast? Maybe her husband really is scary. Once she left, sleep slipped my grasp again. A little deflated, I drifted down the hall. To my surprise, Andrew walked even slower than I did. Suddenly I turned, throat dry. Andrew, could you sleep with me again tonight? Can I touch you? Years of training had made Andrew's abs very firm. Okay, Andrew answered, voice hoarse. Nestled in the solid crook of his arm, I set my fingertips to the ridges of his abs, slow and light. His lower abdomen tensed in answer. Come with me to the Jordan family tomorrow. Something in Andrew's expression shifted. Are we going back for something specific? I missed the flicker of loss and uncertainty on his face, and only explained, Lewis is back. We should wrap up the alliance between our families. The next day, Andrew and I arrived at the Jordans. Lewis had just finished a screaming match with his family over Rachel. Who gave you the right to cancel her stipend? She's a girl on her own, life is hard for her here. Uncle Jordan challenged him, and what about Amanda White? What about the alliance? This is between me and Amanda. Leave Rachel out of it. If you hadn't let that low-born servant get near Amanda, she and I would have made up by now. Lewis and I had quarreled before, but as long as he reached out first, I always gave him a step down and we made peace. Today they'd gone too far. Only when the butler coughed did they notice Andrew and me standing in the doorway. Lewis rushed toward me, delighted, while Rachel watched Andrew from the corner. He thought I'd come to my senses and planned to toss Andrew aside. Amanda, I knew you'd come back. Seeing me one hand at my waist, he sneered at Andrew. He can't even show his own moods, charges around like a caveman. Has no clue how to be gentle. Did he hurt you? Not exactly. Andrew, are the wounds on your back healing? I've got ointment, Rachel chimed in. Let me put it on for you. Andrew turned slightly and slipped past her hand. Meanwhile Lewis was bragging to me, Amanda, you pulled that stunt because you were mad. I get it. You did it because you care. If you find it amusing to keep Andrew around as a toy, I won't object. I frowned. A toy? Thinking I was interested, Lewis produced a remote. Yes. Watch, this is even better. One press and he gets shocked. That's when he's at his most entertaining, like a dog at your feet. Tell him to call you master and he won't resist. The image made my chest hurt. When he pushed the remote into my hand, I flung it to the floor. It shattered into shards. Lewis, that's enough. I'm here to dissolve the engagement." Everyone froze. When the Jordans were in trouble, Aunt Jordan had wanted a simple business partnership. I'd suggested marriage to shore up their position. They understood then that I loved Louis and that my feelings could pull them through the crisis. Secure in that, when Louis ran, they scolded him but assumed nothing fundamental would change. I could make a scene, once my anger cooled, I'd still want Louis. He moved first, panic-stricken. "Amanda, what are you saying? Are you throwing me away?" His eyes turned red. "Yes," Louis just lost his head for a moment, Aunt Jordan blurted. "We'll send Rachel away and kill this idea of his." I stepped back to keep my distance. "No need. I've made up my mind." She scrambled for alternatives. I drew a breath. "The Whites can switch from marriage to a long-term business partnership with the Jordans. But I have one condition." Her eyes lit. "Anything within our power. Remove Andrew's chip." Andrew stared at me, disbelief flaring into something else I couldn't quite read. Aunt Jordan raised her voice. "Impossible. He isn't like other people. What if he hurts someone?" I laughed, cold. "You think he isn't normal because you've never treated him like one." I was done being polite. "My terms are on the table. All I need is the Jordan family's decision." Removing the chip was not simple. It was morning before there was movement behind the door. Jeremy had told me, this custom implant would mean excruciating pain coming out. Even so, I hadn't expected Andrew to endure the whole procedure without a sound. The door opened. A big frame filled the threshold. People in the hall sucked in a breath. Andrew's back was washed red with blood. Sweat beaded at his hairline, his hair was half wet, his lips had gone pale. His hands trembled at his sides. Wasn't he supposed to be out cold for a while after surgery? How is he even standing? Louis gripped a shock baton at the doorway, panicked and wary. Worried he'd lost too much blood, I opened my mouth to call Jeremy. Andrew's balance broke, he sagged straight down. I lunged and caught him. His steps went hollow, most of his weight fell into me, he blacked out completely. I looked past him to Aunt Jordan, my voice frosted. "I'm taking him." "Why drag a walking disaster into your house?" someone muttered. "If your parents find out, they'll blame you. And at this rate, who knows if he'll even pull through. If it's just his face you like, you didn't need the Jordans to yank his chip. With your status, you could have kept him, no strings attached." I sat by the bed and watched the sleeping man, thoughts scattering. "Jeremy, I've seen him before." "After all this time," Jeremy said, baffled, "how can you be sure? A face like his, you won't find a second. Even so, after what he's lived through, how can you be sure the first thing he does after extraction won't be losing control?" I couldn't. The bullet comments on my screen exploded over my taking him home chip-free. Yuri's supposed to remove the chip after the heroine redeems him. Do it now and won't the male lead be doomed? The villain is an expert at patience and pretense. He started building his own company under the Jordans' noses. Only the Jordans are dense enough not to notice. Miss Eris is too naive, she doesn't even know she's being used. He's leveraging her crush to get the chip out, brilliant move for a villain. Not necessarily. If he wanted revenge, he'd have done it already. Why would he stagger out just to see her and then pass out in her arms? I thought, if Andrew didn't wake up soon, the comments would riot. By afternoon, he woke. I had no plans to cage him. In his place, I'd want to live free, owe no one, heed no one, be only myself. Anything feel off? No. He looked up at me, something moved behind his eyes. "Rachel came to see you while you were out," I added. "You hadn't woken, so I sent her away." He nodded. "Got it." The air between us went awkward. Truth be told, we weren't even friends. A one-night entanglement at best. "Where will you go now? If you need money, say so." He dropped his gaze, his voice went low. "I've nowhere to go." I opened my mouth to comfort him, the comments flashed, "Oh please, nowhere to go?" His private holdings rival both families. He learns fast. Years at the Jordans watching them run things, and he spun up a company that's thriving. If not for that chip, he'd have slipped their leash long ago. Keep acting, buddy. Let's see when you get found out. Speaking for the male lead, certified green tea behavior. If not for the comments, I might have believed the helplessness he showed me. I coughed. "If you've nowhere to go, stay here for now." He put on a show of reluctance. "I won't trouble you." I nearly laughed, but held it in. "You won't. Stay as long as you like." While Andrew recovered, Louis came often, sometimes with jewelry from my favorite atelier, sometimes with rare pieces I'd bid on, sometimes with pastries from the bakery I like. Each time he paraded the gifts in front of Andrew. Is this the legendary, late-stage groveling arc? He's breaking his back to show how rich and understanding he is. Joke's on him, the villain is richer. I'd thought that without the chip, Andrew would swing toward extremes. He didn't. If anything, he was too good. Until one day. I came home from shopping with my best friend to find Andrew pinning Louis to the wall, a cold threat in his voice. Show up again, and you won't make it past your own front gate. Louis scoffed. Does Amanda know what you're like? You've been pretending because you know she'd be afraid of the real you. Andrew's grip tightened. Rachel, who'd never seen anything like this, froze. She tried to calm him, he cut her off without mercy. Get out. Only after they'd gone did I rattle my keys and come home. Amanda. He came toward me in an apron, nothing like the shadowed, lethal man from a minute ago. Dinner's ready. Your favorite, braised country chicken. Casually, I said, Rachel and Louis were here. His hand paused over his bowl. You weren't home, so they left. They won't be back, will they? He jerked his head up, panic flickering. Amanda, I stuffed a bite of rice into my mouth. All the better. They wear me out. Word of Andrew and me reached my parents fast. When they flew back, he was kneading my calves. Amanda, how can you be with someone like this? If you don't like Louis, we'll find another. With your pedigree and talent, you can have anyone. Mother called it a fall from grace. At least find someone of equal standing. I heard from your Aunt Jordan, Andrew is only a foster son. What will this do to the white name? Amanda, be good. End it. Please. No. They were my blood, yet felt distant, the bond between us seemed to be only a string of DNA. True kinship had blown away the day they found me in a wolf's den. I laughed, cool. You're afraid because you see I'm like him. You're afraid you'll lose your exceptional daughter. We fought, I stormed out. Under the street lamp, I realized I'd left without my ID and had nowhere to go. Andrew came out, noticed the cigarette between my fingers, and looked stricken. They can put the chip back in. Give you the remote. Then you'll know I can't hurt you. I won't. What's the difference between me and the Jordans, then? Silence fell. I changed the subject. I forgot my ID. Looks like we're sleeping rough tonight. No. A car roared by, he yanked me out of its path with a firm arm. There's a place nearby. Where? My home. It was my first time there. The comments had spoiled the surprise, that his assets dwarfed the family's, and that this was the biggest property he owned, but the moment I stepped in, I was still stunned. I had once had my eye on this villa, only to hear a private buyer had snapped it up. Turned out it was Andrew. He led me into the dressing room, an entire wall of jewelry. Not only that, he'd bought duplicates of all the things Louis used to give me and the pieces I was currently wearing at home. Hidden tycoon, are we? When did you start preparing all this? The day after I went to your place. A little early. Case closed, folks. Love at first sight. Team Loyal Dog wins by a landslide. Who knew the villain would be so easy to win over. If he'd had noticed we were staying, he'd have stalked even more. I rose on tiptoe and kissed his cheek. I love it. Thank you. Which room do I? I turned, and he caught my hand, tugging me straight into his chest. I'd seen this move somewhere before. An idle drama. His pecs knocked the sense out of me for a second. I heard him murmur, new place. You might not sleep. His Adam's apple dipped, his voice roughened. Why don't we sleep together? Andrew, did you practice this? Out of breath, I braced a toe against his lower belly. He eased up, breathing hard. Is it not good? He'd flooded my face. It was good. Too good. Embarrassingly good. The bed creaked all night. I went boneless in his arms. At dawn I woke as he hung up a call. Who was it? Your mother. Of course. She called you and you didn't pick up, so she tried me. She didn't make you promise anything, did she? My parents are merchants to the core. Every word, every move, profit-driven. She wants you home. When we reached the White's house, the slate of familiar faces gave me a bad feeling. Andrew, I said I don't want this. He ruffled my hair. It's not like at the Jordans. This time I'm willing. Only after they implanted the chip again did my parents agree to let us be together. I moved into Andrew's home, I locked the remote at the bottom of a trunk. I tried, slowly, to be myself instead of the white heiress. Later, I heard he'd gone after the Jordans. Those gray businesses burst into the light, Louis fell from his pedestal overnight. He came often, begging me to help the family for old time's sake. I refused. We pay for what we've done. He seemed to sense this might be the last time we spoke. Rachel and I were never together. If I hadn't run from the wedding, would everything be different? Louis, so many things had already started to change. We just chose not to see. He said I stopped loving him suddenly. The truth is, long before the runaway act, he'd slighted me again and again for Rachel. I'm petty, that thorn festered. I forced myself to numb out. On the wedding day, what I felt was relief. Are you happy now? Andrew and I are very happy. In the end, Andrew didn't destroy Louis. He said it was troublesome, I knew better. He was never the bloodthirsty fiend people painted him to be. Later still, he asked why I'd chosen to keep him. Everyone in this world is trying to survive. We fought to live and harmed no one. We weren't wrong. Why accept anyone's judgment? Because of those so-called outside eyes, because I'd spent years correcting the story other people told about me, I hadn't slept well in over a decade. I feared that without vigilance I'd become the aberration they claimed I was. The longer it went on, the more I feared the person I'd built would crack, that if they saw I wasn't as perfect or as strong as I looked, they'd cast me out again, point at me, and say the wolf's den was where I belonged. Then I saw Andrew. I wanted to try saving him. And save myself. There are people in this world like you. They make you feel. Perhaps you are not alone. Love is not a shackle. Love is strength.